Hello, comrades. This is Chetty here, and welcome to Chetty Chats, the show where we discuss a lot of different news topics, and we have a lot of stories to discuss today, the main one of which being that the Purge 5 has been delayed indefinitely. But before I get into that, there are a couple other stories that I do want to touch on, and the first of which is regarding the Snider Cut. Now, my last video, if you guys have seen that, I would recommend to go check that out. I do talk about the Snider Cut, and basically the film is coming out on HBO Max. And make sure to go check out my last video to see my full in-depth thoughts of the announcement of this film. But we do have an update regarding it. It's a very minor update, but it's definitely worth including. And that is that the Snider Cut is going to be released on May 20th, 2021. It comes out the same month as Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. That's an MCU film. And obviously, this is a DC film, and those two companies are the main two competitors in the superhero genre. So that's kind of why I'm including that. But I'm really excited for this. I can't wait. I love the original cut of Justice League, the original version we got, but I also love Zack Snyder's vision, and I can't wait for this Snyder Cut. I think it's going to be amazing. Speaking of DC, our next story comes from Batwoman, and that is that Ruby Rose has officially left Batwoman. Now, as many of you know, she plays the lead role in Batwoman. She is Batwoman. She has left the show officially, and honestly, I could really care less. I think on its own, the Batwoman show is an absolutely horrendous show. It's really bad, honestly. So I don't really care about this news. They definitely are going to recast because I think the show was fairly successful. And also, the Batwoman character was kind of a major character in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover with the Arrowverse characters. So obviously, they're going to bring back that character. So they're probably going to recast. Definitely, Season 2 is still set to come out 2021. Being someone who hasn't seen all of the Batwoman series, I can't really comment, but I was definitely shocked by this news because she definitely did seem pretty passionate about the role, but hey, I don't really care, to be honest. But I'm sure for those of you who are fans of the Arrowverse and that show in particular, you guys are probably pretty upset, and I'm sorry for that news, but it has to be said, you know, I report the news. I'm sorry, but she has officially left the show, and yeah, that's about it. Not really much else to say. And the next thing that I want to talk about is Survivor Season 40, Winners at War. Now, I do know this technically isn't news-related, but it is TV-related, and that's sort of in the realm that I touch on in the series. So, as many of you know, I'm a massive fan of Survivor. I love the show, and I really love this season. I think it's been one of the best seasons in recent years. You know, the cast was just amazing. I love so many people in the cast. You know, there are some people that I really didn't like in the cast, but I thought for the most part the cast was great. This was a super great season, one of the best in recent years. And honestly, personally, it's one of my favorite seasons probably ever. It's definitely up there with Heroes versus Villains and Fans versus Favorites. This was a super entertaining season. And you guys, if you did watch it, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Personally, I was somewhat disappointed by the winner, and spoiler warning, skip to this time in the video if you don't want to know anything about the season. But obviously, Tony won, and I don't really like Tony that much, if I'm going to be honest. You know, I just don't like him that much, and I really didn't want him to win. I honestly much rather would have preferred Michelle or Natalie winning, and I'm honestly very surprised that Michelle didn't even get any votes. But still, you know, I guess I'm happy for him that he won, but I would have preferred other people to win. But still, great season overall. I can't wait for the future of the show. And the next segment on the show is Chetty Recommends. So, if you guys like movies, if you like horror movies, I have a perfect movie for you guys to watch during quarantine, and that is Hangman. This is an incredible film. It's basically a found footage film, and the basic premises of what I can tell you guys about is this guy, he breaks into someone's house. They're at okay, let me start from the beginning, sorry. So this family at an airport, this guy breaks into their car, gets their address from their GPS, drives there, breaks in, sets up security cameras everywhere, and hides up in their attic. He completely ransacks the place, and whenever they come back, they call the cops, and they don't really make anything of it. They just suspect that someone broke into their house and did whatever. So they kind of just go on with their everyday lives, but this guy's watching them. And that's really all I can say without spoiling it, because I think this is an excellent film. This was super entertaining, and honestly, I was pretty skeptical about going into this movie because, Although I do enjoy the found footage genre, in fact, some of my favorite horror films are found footage, I think as a whole the genre is just complete and utter garbage. But this was super fun. I really enjoyed this movie. It was a fun watch, super entertaining. So if you haven't seen Hangman, I would highly recommend checking it out. And our next story here comes from the Child's Play series, and that is that we have a new update on the Chucky series, which is set to come out on the Sci-Fi Network. And basically, we got the official title for this series, and it's just going to be called Chucky. Now, originally, it was supposed to be called Child's Play, but because of the 2019 Child's Play reboot, obviously, they're not going to do that. So this series is just called Chucky, and it will take place, obviously, within the original timeline of films. It won't connect to the newest reboot, although I really enjoyed that film. You know, this is part of the original timeline, and we did get some details. Well, we have had these details for a bit, but I do want to tell you guys about them regarding the synopsis of the series. So basically, in the Chucky series, after a vintage Chucky doll turns up at a suburban yard sale, an American town is thrown into chaos as a series of horrifying murders begin to expose the town's hypocrisies and secrets. Meanwhile, the arrival of enemies and allies from Chucky's past threaten to expose the truth behind the killings, as well as the demon doll's untold origins. And just reading this synopsis of this series, it sounds awesome. I love the Child's Play series. I really enjoyed the original set of films, and I also did really love the 2019 reboot. And personally, my favorite films in the original the original series, are Cult and Curse. And obviously, Cult of Chucky left off in a massive cliffhanger. So, although the plot of this doesn't really match up with, the end of Cult of Chucky, I'm not going to say anything for those of you who haven't seen it, because that is a really good film, and I would recommend that you check it out. But, the ending of that doesn't really match up with the synopsis of this series, but I'm sure it will relate to it somehow. And I think it's also interesting that we're going to get to see more of the origin story of Charles Lee Ray, because, he is a very mysterious character in this franchise. Obviously, he was in the first film. And basically, for those of you who don't know who he is the serial killer that was being chased down by the police in the beginning of the first Child's Play, and he used voodoo to transfer his spirit into the Buddy doll. So that's who he is. He's Chucky, basically, for those of you who don't know that already. And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see more of his origin and find out why he is the way that he is, because that's a question that has really never been answered throughout the franchise. And overall, I think this series is going to be a really interesting and fun watch. And I think it's going to be really refreshing in the horror genre of TV. And speaking of the horror genre, we need to get to our final story of this episode, and that is that the Purge 5 has been officially delayed, and this honestly sucks. This was originally supposed to come out July 10th of 2020, and the actual title for this film is The Forever Purge. And, I love the Purge series. Personally, it's one of my favorite horror franchises in recent years, and it does suck that this film is being delayed, but still, I'm really excited for this, obviously. We don't know when the film will be picked back up, when it will be released, but I'm sure we'll get that announcement sometime soon after this whole coronavirus thing clears up. But yeah, that is the episode of Chetty Chats. If you guys did enjoy this, make sure to drop a like. Again, you guys can go get some Chetty merch. It's the hottest merch in the game at shop.spreadshirt.com/Chetty. Also, make sure to go subscribe to my other channels, and I will see you guys very soon with a brand new video. This is Chetty signing off. Peace out.